Hello, this is Audrey Gordon, and welcome to day 4 of the Dataverse Advent Calendar. Today we're going to talk about dissecting solutions. So when you were in school, you probably dissected frogs. Instead, today we're going to dissect solutions. A lot less gross. All right, we're going to choose a solution that I mentioned in day 3, which is the Innovation Backlog. And this is one of the solutions that are part of the COE Starter Kit. So what I'm going to do is click on the COE Starter Kit to kind of show you how you download this. Because it is a subset of the Center of Excellence Starter Kit, which will open that up here in the browser. And here's where you'll get all the information you need on the COE Starter Kit. COE stands for Center of Excellence, and it's a tool to support your company's Center of Excellence. This tool or utility has many solutions in it, but this page explains it from front to back, and you can learn an overview, you can learn how to set it up, how to use it, and how to cover the 3 targets that it has, which is to help you with administration, governance, or simply nurturing, right, as you adopt the Power Platform. I'm going to go straight to download because we're not going to talk about the Center of Excellence today. You can see that I had downloaded it before, but it downloads about 17 megabytes for the whole starter kit. And then once you get it downloaded, the important thing is this is not the solution you want to import. All right, you might think that, but no, it is actually composite. So I'm going to open it in a new window and kind of look at all the guts of this starter kit. You can see that it has quite a few different solutions. The ALM Accelerator, which is also related to solutions. It's kind of an easy way for makers to understand that transition from one environment to the next and kind of see it in a very user-friendly way. We won't have much time to talk about that, but if you want to hear more about that or the Center of Excellence during these 25 days, please do put that in the description because neither are actually planned because we have so much to cover. But I would be glad to make an exception and get those in there if you'd like them. But the part that I'm looking for today is the one that's called Center of Excellence Innovation Backlog. So basically, if it's a solution made for the COE, it normally is prefixed with Center of Excellence. Again, we're looking for the one that says Innovation Backlog. I'm going to just copy that and put it on my desktop. And it's just going to make it easy for me to find when I get ready to import it. All right, so now that we've done that, you would go back to your Power Apps interface and you would click on Solutions, and then you would click Import, and you'd browse to that file and bring it in. Now, I will tell you that the first thing that you will see when you import this solution is like a message that says we're importing, but the first action that you will need to take during that import process is the setting up of the connections if you're missing any. And this is why in the documentation for the Center of Excellence, you will have some suggestions on what connections that you should make even before you get started. And just having those connections already made will make it easier for you to import the solution, kind of less work for you to do. Because when that pop-up comes out about connections, you'll be able to just select them quickly. All right. I've already done that, so I'm not going to do that now just to avoid the wait. I've already installed everything. All right. Now I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint just for a minute here. I'm going to say that this is a consistent process that I use irrelevant to the solution I've imported. If I've imported a solution that I did not author myself, like I'm not really close to, then I dissect it by starting with these 3 things you see on the screen. First thing I want to make sure I have all properly set up is the connection references. And in this one, you have the 8 that I showed you on the doc page. After I get my connection references all set up, usually that means I can now start using the apps. So I will look at the apps secondly to kind of make sure I understand the functionality of this solution. And that may mean that during that time, I might write down some questions to myself. They might be, oh, I wonder how they did this. Or they might be, I need to update this choice list, or I need to update this table because what it's offering me isn't appropriate to my business need. And you'll see that as we look at it closely. And then the third thing I will kind of browse is the tables. This doesn't mean that that's the end of my dissecting. It just means that these are the first 3 things I pay attention to. What are the references? Let's play these apps and see what they do. And then let's look at the tables, because the tables contain records that I can revise. So I want to look at those tables and see if there's anything that I can revise in those records that will make it better for my use case. All right. So let's go back to Power Apps together and let's do that. So we've already looked at the connection references. We have some environment variables here, and I think there's only one, and this is the app URL. And basically in some of the emails that are used in this solution as notifications, it needs to point to the app. So you would put that app URL in that environment variable, which environment variables are just kind of placeholders that you can use to determine, what should be the value for this particular thing as I move from one environment to the other. So it allows you to change values. So that app in dev might be one URL, the app in test might be a different, and the app in prod might be a third. So in this way, you can change the default value when you import into a new environment. We also have security roles in here. I'm not going to talk too much about these, but this just gives everybody access to the data in the tables. But like I said, I like to start with the apps after I've checked my connection references. So usually you'll have at least one app, but sometimes you'll have 2. I think it's a best practice to have what's called an admin version of your app. And what that means is the app runs a certain way for the consumers, but how do you administer that app? What configurations can you set up for the better running of that app will be shown to you in the admin app. So if I just kind of open the admin app first, you'll kind of see what I mean. The admin app is not intended for the end user. It's intended for the person who's publishing this app so that they can set it up, right? So they might want to create, in this case, I haven't told you this, but I might have mentioned it yesterday. This app collects a set of pain points or challenges that a team has. And then it has some measures that we can measure how we solve these pain points. People submit ideas on what they think should be done. And then we can set up team activities based on that. So when you install this solution, you won't have any pain points and you won't have any measures. So the admin app is a way of easily adding the pain points and adding the measures, and just makes it point and click for you to add these things. Very simple dialogues will pop up, and you'll be able to select how you want to configure that. Now, this also helps you set up an icon for the non-software tools. There's a whole list of tools that are related to the ideas. And then over time, you might want to come back to this admin tool and delete any old or unneeded ideas. And this will help you do that kind of in batch, because it'll show you all the ideas and the work items associated with them. And then you can choose to delete them. So this is more administrative, All right, so I'm going to come out of here, and now let's look at the actual app. So we'll just play this app. Notice I don't have edit here because I'm in the context of the solution, but I can actually look at this app in edit mode, and I'll show you that in a minute. All right, so here's the app. I've added one action item. And what's really cool about this is it kind of helps you think about solutioning. Like what's required in solutioning. You need to kind of have a problem statement. You need to understand what is the cost of that problem today. And then you need to have some ideas on what tools you can use to solve that problem. And there's a lot of things you need to kind of gather to get your, like, what I call a before snapshot, right? So if I edit this, just to have you look at this action that I added already, it's a simple one. I'm going to call it action items, and a keyword here is meetings. Maybe we have several ideas that are related to our meetings. And this is simple. We need a good way to track action items during our monthly business review. Now, if I drop this down, these are the pain points that are related to this idea. And this goes back to, remember I went to the admin app and I added my own pain points. So I added these using Manuela's suggestions from her video. And I'll put her video down in the bottom. Manuela is one of the people on the team that built this. And whenever Manuela touches anything, it's awesome. So I want to share her video with you, which is more of an introduction to the app than a dissection of the solution. I'll point you to that. But I just looked at the screenshots and entered those items in here. But you can totally add your own, right? And you can see which 3 are selected here. Then if I go to tools, I said that the tool that's related to this action item should be Azure DevOps. And here's my favorite part of this is the measuring of the ROI, where you actually say, here's the measurement that we want to do as far as hours per month and such, right? So it's about customer efficiencies. Lack of customer efficiencies can impact retention, because this idea is about retrospective action items that can fall through the cracks, right? And it causes a lot of time to be spent by engineering and by our suppliers. So in here, we can kind of like estimate how many people will actually be performing this task. I can actually say, let's go ahead and track the monetary value of this. Let's say these resources are worth about $75 per hour. They spend about 120 minutes per week, right? Or you can do per use with times done per week. So here we're learning how to calculate the cost of no change, right? So if we do nothing, this is what it's going to cost us not to change this, right? And then as we build our solution, we're going to end up with a before and after snapshot that says, wow, if we've just made a solution that saved us $18,000 a month, or maybe it saves us $15,000 a month, but we'll be able to see the before and the after. So this is what's really important. And then there's workflow. You can upload workflow diagrams and things like that to choose whether or not you have some type of process that's involved, and maybe that process is refined along the way. And then you end up with all the variables that determine what the complexity score will be. All right. So now I'm going to go back, and everybody will be able to add their ideas, and they will decide whether or not this is something they want to invest in, and then they can build these action items. Okay. So that's the app. So let's go back to the solution. And then here are the tables. And I've already kind of gone through all of these tables. I think the key table here is the backlog idea, right? Where you can see all the ideas that are submitted by people. Again, in a solution that's managed, I can't edit the structure of the solution, but I can most definitely edit the records and the data involved. In addition to that, let me just pull this open a little bit more. We have the backlog pain points, which basically this is where I put in those few pain points that I copied from Manuela's video screenshots. And then the measures, like how do we measure success on these from looking at what it cost us today. So those are the three that I found to be the most interesting of all the tables. But again, I went through all of them. You should too. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out here is the choices. These are choices whenever you saw a drop down, right? These are the choices that are configured in the solution. Again, you can see that they aren't revisable because it's a managed solution, all right? But you can definitely see them and look at their values and so forth and so on, which may be necessary for any new flows you might want to make. The cloud flows are listed here. I love the fact that although, you know, again, edit is grayed out, you can actually go and look at this flow and technically you can edit. In other words, just like you can edit the apps, you can edit the flows, but there is a message up here at the top that clearly indicates to you kind of what risk you're taking or what decision you're making. It says editing this managed flow will create customization stored in a new unmanaged layer. And this is important to know when you're editing a managed solution, so you can click on learn more to learn what it means by solution layers and how you can sometimes have a managed layer as well as an unmanaged layer with your own customizations. So I encourage you to read that as well. I love the way the flows are written. You can learn a lot, both from the apps and the flows. I love how they've put all of the relevant actions into scopes so that you have everything needed for X, Y, and Z grouped together by scope. And this is kind of like the important thing I want to share with you. Looking through these solutions that we offer you that you can download and reuse, such as the Center of Excellence, the Innovation, the Innovation Backlog, as well as like the Creator Toolkit. All of these things are developed in a very consistent, very professional way, and you can always learn from them because the team takes a lot of effort in making sure they're doing things as per a best practice. So very good for you to kind of review these as a learning tool, if nothing else. Same thing with apps. If I go into the two apps, I can actually, I can show you where you can get to the edit of the apps if you want to investigate them. In your normal apps tab, you will see all your installed solution apps, and here you can actually edit them. So, and I don't suggest you do a lot of editing to them really. And I have a little surprise for you at the very end, though, on that point. But I suggest you, again, use the edit option in order to learn. Like you might have made a note. I wonder how they did that in this particular app. Now you can actually open the app and go see, click on it, look at the on select statements, look at the variables in the app. It's a great way to become better at building apps, all right? And we will have a day dedicated to building apps where you're going to meet my dear peer and partner Rashika, who's going to give us a lot of great tips for building Canvas apps. That's coming later. But I love solutions for this, especially because when Microsoft puts solutions in GitHub, it's a solution that's well vetted, and so you can count on it carrying over best practices. So great way to just click on things and learn from them how this was done. Okay, let's go back to our deck. That's just about what I wanted to share today. Kind of how you dissect any solution, not just this one. I do suggest you go ahead and import this one, give it a try, understand the different components in it, understand what you can edit and what you can't. That's a good thing. Now, here's a surprise, those of you that lasted to the end of the video. This particular solution was built before we had completed the Creator Toolkit, which means that there's a lot of opportunity to improve the look and feel of this app using the PCF components in the Creator Toolkit. If you're interested in taking a stab at redesigning this with the Creator Toolkit, there are two things I'd like to offer you. And you're only going to hear about this if you lasted to the end of this video. One, I'd like to offer you to go ahead and do that. You and I will look at what you end up with. Don't spend a lot of time, but we'll look at what you end up with. And we'll amplify it in all social media if it's stellar, right? In addition to that, I, Audrie Gordon, not Microsoft, not as an employee of Microsoft, but I, myself, personally, would like to offer you a small gift. Now, gifts is not monetary, but it is a nice gift. So if you're interested in what can you do, what are your creative skills in taking the Creator Toolkit and see if you can revamp this app a little bit, I'd love to work with you on that. So just kind of reach out to me and let me know you want to do that. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. All right. And I look forward to continuing this series with you tomorrow. Happy holidays.